Maraming salamat sa kaibigan kong si Glenn Lasquez for that heartwarming introduction. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Because of the speech of my friend Rudy Espinaga, parang ayoko na magsalita ng English because it's very well spoken of. And naalala ko tuloy one day when I was walking in Divisoria, mayroong isang foreigner who wants to speak in Tagalog, and he was asking the price of one kilo of mango from a sidewalk vendor. So he said, "Magandang umaga, ma'am. Magkano ang isang kilo mo ng mango?" And then the sidewalk vendor said, "One way, sir." And then the foreigner said, "What do you mean? Ano ibig mong sabihin ng one way, ma'am?" "One way nga, ang kulit mo naman." But sabi nung foreigner, "Hindi ko nga ma'am maintindihan. What's the meaning of one way?" "Ibig ko sabihin, 100. Understand?" Sabi nung so ibig pala sabihin ng one way, 100 piso. Kaya hindi sila magkaintindihan. Well, good morning, gentlemen. First, before I show you my presentation, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Chief Engineer Miguel of Marasigan. At present, the owner's representative of one small mining agency. The name of our company is General Maritime Crewing Private Limited, registered in Singapore, with offices in New York, Portugal, Russia, India, and all other places where you can find suppliers of seafarers. And of course, here in the Philippines, our office is located at the 7th floor of the PTC building in Makati. I'm also at present, as mentioned by my good friend Glenn here, as the officer in charge of the Board of Marine Engineer Officers at PRC. Kami po yung gagawa ng mga test questions para sa mga tiga-MAAP. So darating ang araw, they will become licensed or graduates of Bachelor of Science in Marine Engineering. And prior to being licensed as marine engineers, and to be able to acquire a certificate of competency so that they'll be able to board foreign flag vessels, they have to pass through a licensure examination. And right now at PRC we have both written and walk-in examination for marine deck and marine engineer officers. So unique po out of the 44 professional organizations or regulatory boards at PRC. Ang maritime boards lang po ang mayroong licensure examination through walk-in examination. Okay, during the time that Captain Espinaga was showing his piece, naalala ko po while he showed that photo about the perfect storm. Sabi niya, lumubog. But that was because, in my own feeling, as a marine engineer, tumirik po yung makina. Because as soon as the ship lost its propeller or its propulsion, forget about their seamanships. Because they can never do anything against the big waves without any propulsion. So kami po mga marine engineers sa kanilang buhay. Well, now allow me to show you my piece here. It's about the marine engineers. It's more than a noise. Okay, when you go on board, a marine engineer, he does not only look after the main engines and the auxiliary machineries on board. He's a member of the ship's crew who operate and maintain the propulsion and other systems on board the vessel. Marine engineering staff also deals with hotel facilities on board, notably the sewage, the lighting, the air conditioning, and the water system. So halos po lahat ng makina related to anything that moves and makes noise. Marine engineers po ang humahawak niyan. They also deal with the bunker fuel transfers and require training in firefighting and first aid, just like the deck officers po. All of us, before we go on board, we have to pass through firefighting and first aid training. The field of marine engineering is very closely related to mechanical engineering, although the modern marine engineers require knowledge and hands-on experience with electrical, electronics, pneumatics, hydraulics, and what have you, nandun na po lahat. Kaya po kami sa makina, we can also work ashore after our tenure at sea. We are the most in-demand professionals when it comes to building ships. So we are very much welcome when we apply on dry docks, ship buildings, ship repair. Kami po ang aming hinahanap sa amin. Okay, the original term engineer meant the technical people who dealt with the engines as opposed to the consulting engineer concept. That was many years ago. Consulting engineer lang po tawag sa nila. And then, marine engineers are generally more hands-on. And kayo po mga, sino po ba mga marine engineering students dito sa MAP? Please raise your hands. Puro marine engineers pala kayo dito. Of course, we need also ladies from Malate High School and also University of Santo Tomas, I believe. Meron din po dito mga ladies, nakita ko kanina. We also need lady marine engineers, hindi lang po mga lalaki. In fact, in my office, I have one marine engineering graduate. She's now taking the licensure exam for OIC, or the Officer in Charge of Engineering Watch, so that by the time he passed the licensure examination, she'll be certificated as an OIC. Pwede na po siya maging junior officer sa barko. So, the hands are almost getting dirty. It's sweaty in the engine room, and work in arduous conditions with temperatures in engine room spaces exceeding 35 degrees Celsius. Sometimes in warm climates, like here in the Philippines, tropical climates yan. Pagka umabot po ng the month of April, May, and June, where the temperatures outside the sea or outside the ship is around 32 degrees, you can expect that the temperature inside the engine room can go up 10 to 20 degrees higher. So kami po mga chief engineers, we most of the time stay in the engine control room, air condition po to. Otherwise, medyo baka maging Arabo na kami. Ibig po sabihin ng Arabo ay Arabo hook. Mapapanan po tayo sa init. Okay, patience and logical approach need to be maintained at all times, especially when dealing with heavy machinery in a seaway. And the marine engineer is bridge between the people and engineering, as I've said. The master is the head of the tech department, and the chief engineer is the head of the engine department. We work hand in hand so that we work like a family on board the ship, so that all the problems that may come up will be solved like a team, so that the ship can reach the port that where it's going to. Marine engineering became a profession at the dawn of the engine-driven ship. The basic concepts of propulsion has remained pretty much the same, but there were many improvements since then. As you can see in the photo, yan po ang typical picture of a marine engineer. Puno po ng grasa yung kanyang coveralls because probably he's just gone under the bilge tank or have just completed overhauling one auxiliary machinery, and most of the time he's in charge of overhauling fuel oil purifier, yung pong nag-purify ng fuel so that it will be much cleaner when it's used in the engine. So that's most of the time collecting all the dirt that's coming from the tank or from the refinery. And after a certain period of time of it's being used, you have to open it up for cleaning. And most of the time you can see the sludge, yung mga soils, yung mga hindi matanggal during the purification process. And that's why, as you can see, his coveralls almost full of fuel. Now, on board the ship, there are 4 classifications of marine engineers. You have the chief engineer, who is the head of the engine department. Then the first assistant or second engineer, the next in line. First assistant engineer is used on board ships flying the flag of the Marshall Islands, Liberia, and other international flags. But here in the Philippines, we use the rank second engineer. Wala po tayong first engineer dito, first assistant engineer. Panama also, I believe, has only second engineer. And then below them are the ranks of second assistant or third engineer. And the lowest of the ranks is the third assistant or fourth engineer. And right now, like as I've said before, I'm an ownership represented one shipping company. Most of our ships are tanker types, yung nagdadala po ng langis. And because of the sophistication of our ships, we also employ electricians or electrical officers to look after the sophisticated electronic equipments and like boilers, automations, and other things that most of the time an ordinary engineer cannot do. So we get assistance from an electrical officer who is mostly a graduate or a licensed electrical engineer. Those who join without experience are called either a fifth engineer. So kayo po mga taga-MAP, when you go on board, is either fifth engineer kayo, or trainee marine engineer, or junior engineer, and lastly of course cadet. No? Meron pa kayo yung apprentice engineer na tinatawag. Then those who join without an engineering license, first time out of school, yan po ang tawag sa inyo, engine cadet, and you are usually working under the supervision of a watchkeeping engineer, like in the latest STCW